Alright, hi everybody, I'm Warlord Magni, and thanks for coming to this next installment in my Newb to Warlord series. Today we're going to talk about sportsmanship and communication, I forgot. So I think this is a great opportunity just today, since we're going to do a tournament today, so something for everybody to take something away. I think overall this topic is under-taught and under-emphasized in Amtgard and in LARPs in general, even though it's something that we have to do all of the time, right? Especially in tournament settings, we treat this like a sport, and so being able to communicate to one another, why are you so far away? Being able to talk to one another, as well as keeping a positive attitude, and treating each other with respect is really important, right? So first, I'm going to talk about sportsmanship and then how communication plays into this, okay? So first off with sportsmanship, what is it? So there's a couple broad definitions, but I think broadly or overall, keeping a positive attitude, maintaining and displaying respect, not just for the game, but for yourself, for your opponents, and for the Reeves, right? So everybody that is a part of this group about this game or whatever you're doing, right, being respectful to them is really important in being sportsmanlike. Being honest and true to the game, right? This is following the rules, not cheating, not sloughing, taking things in like the bet or with the best case scenario, right? Like, okay, you get hit kind of light or whatever, or like it's a skimmy shot, just take it. Like doing that honestly and in good faith makes you a better sportsman. All right, what else? Taking responsibility for your actions and communicating. So, if I whack Sean in the neck, not just being like, oh, get better, scrub, or like, you neck block me or head blocking, like being antagonistic. No, like things happen, be like, oh, I'm sorry, Sean. I'm never sorry. Right? But being able to like admit your faults and taking responsibility for any accidents that are occurring, I think is really important for being a good sport in this game. And also, overall, I think everybody should remember that Amtgard, LARP, Bell, DAG, whatever, is a game. It is a game. Don't look at me like that, right? Nothing that we do here, we're really going to be able to put on our resume and we're going to get a job for, we're making money for. This is all make-believe, right? So, I stabbed Sean and Sean's like, nah, that was light. Okay, I can be a little upset about it, but I'm not going to get pissed off and throw my equipment or whatever. Just move on. It's not that big of a deal, really. Okay? There's always other people to fight. You can always move on. And maybe, just maybe, it wasn't actually that good of a stab. Or I actually didn't get it. So just remember, keep a positive attitude, and it is a game at the end of the day. Nothing is for keeps here. Really. Alright. So with all of that being said, what does good sportsmanship look like here? Right? So often when it comes into fighting, right, if I'm coming up to Sean, say in a tournament setting, we can tap swords and being respectful about it. It's not like tap and then I'm trying to get a cheap shot off. That's not sportsmanlike, right? I tap, okay, we backstep, and then we engage. Alternatively, we can salute each other. To start off, that's something that we do in KOP. At the start of tournaments, we go to our separate squares, we salute, and then we engage. Additionally, and I think this is happening more at bigger tournaments and becoming more commonplace, is starting off, especially in brackets, and shaking your opponent's hand. You don't have to shake my hand. Shake hands, fist bump, hugs, and you can do this before and after tournaments. I think, or after the match. I think after matches, however competitive it is, especially in the brackets, saying like good job, like good fights, that was a great time. That means a lot. It seems super minor and it's a minute detail in the moment, but over the course of the tournament and for the people watching, it changes the way the tournament feels. And as being somebody that has been fighting in tournaments for, I don't know, like 10 years, forever now, right? Going into fights, fighting, and then winning or losing, and somebody just giving me the cold shoulder of just like, or I've gone actually into a fight and won, and I went to shake their hand or fist bump, and they said, I don't want any of that. And they just left the match. And I was like, oh, okay, sorry. But again, right, like that changes the tone of the tournament and the feeling of the game. So we're all here to have a good time. We're all here to have fun, right? So being respectful in that sense. I already said don't take cheap shots, right? Like with the tapping, don't try to like get one up right off the go. It is technically legal in the game in a tournament match, but it's like, oh, people are gonna look down on you for it. It's not cool. Showing care for your opponent, right? So if we're fighting and I hit Sean on the head, boop, right? Whether it be hard, whether it be soft, being like, oh, I'm sorry. Now, granted, the extent that which you pause can be different, right? It doesn't have to be like, oh, Sean, are you okay? Right? It doesn't have to be like that. Probably not advised in a tournament, but you can just be like, hey, are you okay? I'm sorry. Or if in a tournament, we're fighting, hit Sean on the head, I back up, are you okay? Like, do you need a moment? Whatever. Also, sometimes you can still fight. Sean says head, and then, we can keep fighting. Oh, I hit you in the head. Don't take any of that, right? Just not disrespecting your opponent. Oh, also just don't hit him in the face, like purposefully. I came from a part of the game at a time of the game where it was totally acceptable to go head and then take a kill. Like, I hit you, you're done. You don't do that anymore. So it's better than the alternative, which is good. It's good that we don't do that. There's actually a time that I did come up in a tournament. I hit an arm and then I slid up, hit them in the face. I stopped entirely and said, are you okay? And they blasted the shit out of me. They won the fight. That in itself is kind of disrespectful because I am showing care to my opponent or respect to my opponent and they're disrespecting me, but that's not the point. Like I would rather be the bigger person and lose the match and make sure that my opponent is okay than being a dick alternatively. But you have to tread a line somewhere. Also, don't argue with Reeves. Whatever Reeve calls, that's the call. Like, it doesn't matter if it's wrong. It doesn't matter if it's right. That's what the Reeve called, and move on. Also, if there's a skimmy shot, or that's actually a good shot, something like that, where it's like, it's kind of on the edge, just take the shot. Like, especially if you're doing 1v1 spars, who cares? it's nothing's for keeps. In a tournament like today, where we're at a park, nobody's getting a Warlord. Like, who cares? All right. So I think those are good examples of what good sportsmanship is like. And then I think also, just really briefly, I want to talk about what sportsmanship isn't. Okay. I think these are really glaring points. Don't gloat. Don't mock your opponent. Don't finish a fight and be like, "Oh, dude, did you see how I like smoked the shit out of Sean?" That's not sportsmanlike, right? Also, don't throw tantrums. If you think you got something or like you lost a fight, I understand. In a match, you get really invested in what's going on, but throwing your equipment. I mean, I've seen people leave matches and break swords over their knees. Like, that's not cool. Also, you're wasting equipment and money, but whatever, that's their stuff. But again, like, that's not sportsmanship. Throwing or breaking equipment. I also think this one is a little bit more subtle, but I've seen people talk their way out of losses. There's this really intense exchange, boom, 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 boom. They step back and say, all right, what happened? And the Reeves are like trying to figure out what happens. And the Reeves initially come to a conclusion, Sean wins. And then somebody says, oh, well, I think this happened and then this happened. And you try to work it out to where either you win or you get a Simo, right? I've seen people do it. I don't think it's okay. Take the loss, or take what the Reeve calls. It's okay to lose. That's something that's important for everybody to learn. And then obviously don't slough and don't like blatantly cheat. And that also goes for battle games of like, oh, I have more spells than I actually do, or just like ignoring people and stuff like that. So I think those are overall good aspects to remember in sportsmanship. But now, briefly, I want to talk about communication and how this all rolls in. I think communicating is a great way to clarify, right? The point of communication is to convey information, right? And during a fight, I could think, a lot of people don't think, they in themselves believe they got something. In reality, you never know for certain, right? So I can throw that, and Sean, did I actually hit you? God damn it, I'm not supposed to hit you, right? And I could say, oh, I got that, but then Sean doesn't change, and I could get angry inside and be like, oh, Sean's sloughing me, but in reality, I didn't get anything, and that could all be alleviated by saying, hey, what did I hit, or did I hit anything? Yeah, right? Like, oh, communication. You convey information, right? So communicating actively during a fight, whether that be in a spar, during a tournament, or during a battle game, is really important. And you can do this through various ways, right? So you can do this verbally, by saying hand, head, neck, whatever. What else do I have here? Oh, and then like what I do often when in like an intense series of fights, I often just say like yes or no, of like, yes, that was a good shot, no, that was a bad shot. Also, then you can go into like the deeper details of talking through the sequence, and all of that. You can also do nonverbal communication, something in fighting, right, where I throw, well, you throw to me, hit my hand, right? I can do this, and this is a common conveying that it was sword hand, right? But if instead you hit my offhand and I do this, like sticking your hand out away, this is a common form of communication that I am armed, right? Additionally, I can come up and I can do this. This is another way of conveying I am armed or I am legged. right? Or if I'm down, this is my dead leg, or this is my dead leg. These are very common instances of communicating non-verbally within the game. So if you are fighting, right, and you think you hit something, right, I get a pop, whatever, and I think Sean is sloughing or he didn't take my shot. Being able to ask that scenario, doing it in the proper way is really important, because if you come off as aggressive, you come off in a very negative attacking way or like targeting way, it puts your opponent on a defensive and they're less willing to like cooperate. So using a mild or passive tone, firm is also okay. Be like, hey, what did I hit? Right? That's fine. Being polite, being, what else do I have here? Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Right, using your tone, using the right volume, all of that matters. Also, like with your body language and your face, your facial expressions matter as well, especially when they respond. Right, because if I throw, Sean, what did I hit? And if I'm just like, that tells immediately that Sean thinks that I think that he's lying, right? So again, this is the part about playing a social game, is you have to treat everybody with respect, and like being able to work with them and them work with you is really important. So I think everybody like try to be respectful during the tournament, try to communicate as much as possible. And thank you all for your time and attention. That's all I have for today. Thank you, Sean, for letting me fake hit you. And I'll see you next time on my Newb to Warlord series. Thanks, guys.